Too often men are told to toughen up, to be strong, and to keep it together. But what happens when strength is mistaken for silence, when vulnerability is seen as weakness? Tonight we're joined by Musadik Erasmus for a deeply necessary conversation on men and emotions. Why so many men struggle to talk about their feelings, the silent burden this creates, and how we can build safer, more compassionate spaces for emotional expression. It's time we challenge the culture of bottling things up, because when emotions are suppressed, they don't disappear. They show up later in far more damaging ways. Musadik Erasmus, Assalamu alaikum and welcome.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you doing okay?
Alhamdulillah, we are good. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, Allah kulli khair.
Alhamdulillah. Musadik, this topic that we are talking about is such an important topic. And I say that because for the month of June, I'm covering gender-based violence. And I always find that men don't talk, or men are too shy to come out and talk if they've been abused in any way, because they are supposed to be strong. So why do you actually think so many men find it difficult to talk about emotions?
First and foremost, this is a social ill that we're all dealing with in today's time. And there's many factors, not what I think, the facts are there, why men are scared to speak out, especially when they've gone through trauma or abuse, especially abuse. For instance, I have many cases that I've dealt with personally, prominent people in society that has been sexually abused as well. And they will never ever come out because of the stigma and societal pressure. For instance, one of the cases, the perpetrator was the mother. Another case, the perpetrator was the so-called girlfriend. And how does a man walk into the police station, make a case against a female? How would that be recognized, and how would that be handled? Because that's not something that men usually do. And yes, when you say gender-based violence, it is gender-based violence because it's both-sided. Because usually the focus is only on women. And there's many men that's abused out there as well. And they're abused in silence. And this is the reality that we face, though.
Definitely. Musadik, don't you actually think that now is the time for men to actually stand up and say, you know what, I don't care what society thinks, I don't care what my family thinks, this is about me and my well-being, and this cannot go on. I am going to go to the police station. I am going to lay a case against the person, whether it is the wife or the sister or whatever, because they are not doing it. We are unaware of how many men are actually going through domestic abuse.
Yes, there's millions of cases. But as I said, it is a societal norm for a man to be strong and for men to be the perpetrators and not victims. And this is what you've been seeing by social media. This has been going on. This hasn't been the norm since now. This has been going on for years, many years. And the silence will always be there because, again, the stigma behind, are you not man enough? You understand? It's not common to hear that a man is being abused by a woman. And these cases are very real, consistently. I even found it in gangsters, real gangsters. I've seen a case where a real gangster is feared by society, but he fears his wife. And he comes home, he's like a little baby. And he comes home. And this is real, as I said. It's not about not being man enough. It's also about, remember, we're living in a narcissistic society today, so this is rife, right?
Correct.
So when it comes to men's emotions, what we usually do is, men will always share. Men share with their wives, right? We're talking about the family unit. Men will share, and what usually happens is, whatever he shared gets used against him as a tool. Right? So what happens in that case, he'll share with you because he wants to be real with you. He wants to be forthcoming with you. But again, he learns very quickly who to trust and who not to trust. And when he shares with you, being a spouse, and you take that as a weapon or you use it against him because to be honest, the female species is much more brutal than the male species. The males will never, most arguments, males will never say, as they say, we eat below the belt. But again, when females are operating, they're operating emotionally and not logically. And there's certain things that you cannot take back. So usually when a man shares with a female and he sees the outcome of that, he'll go back into his shell. He will never ever do it again because she taught him a lesson. And that's a lesson well learned. So for him to be able to open up again to her, the trust is gone already. Because there was a moment, again, as I said, we living in a very narcissistic society. That's why you'll see the amount of divorces is going to escalate right now. And that's not just one-sided from the females in the relationship or the males. This is also an agenda because we're living in a society that we want to be free. Right? We take this freedom, not knowing that being free to have a family unit, being free, you'll hear slogans as, I'm a strong, independent woman, I don't need a man. Now, that's a very dangerous statement because that means that a healthy family unit doesn't involve a man. And that's very concerning because as a society, my favorite words is, if you want to destroy a nation, destroy the family. That's all. Because now you have a broken society. And that's when you have chaos.
Well, Sadiq, if I can just come in here, the fact that the man doesn't want to show emotions or speak about what he's going through, can the mother be blamed for that? Because from the time he grew up, the mother always told him, you need to be strong, men don't cry. So doesn't that actually stem from how the man grew up and the household he comes from?
Yes, the rearing of the child, there's a huge implications on how the individual become as an adult, because it's supposed to be a safe space. It's supposed to be a space where he can express himself. It's supposed to be this type of a space. Hence why we find what we're finding today. The mother is not only to be blamed as well, because there is societal norms as well, right? And usually the case is people base what they say on what they heard and not what they know. There's no facts behind it. So for instance, I'll give you a simple example. Most men believe that men should not seek counsel, right? So when we say these words, Islam is a way of life and it's a system to life, right? That means we are supposed to take an example from Islam, right? And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, that verily He has sent the best of examples to us and we should follow suit. So whether you're female or male, there is an example set for you, so follow that example. So when we hear, no, you're a man, you don't need a counsel, you don't need to seek counsel, you're supposed to suck it up and all of those things. Yes, we understand all that, right? As men, as testosterone, but that's not the way of Islam. That is not true testosterone. Okay? When a man is dealing with something, for any circumstances, if you want to buy a car, can I apply the same? Do not seek counsel, because then again, Islam is a solution to stupidity, the prevention of stupidity. So when we speak about the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and I studied counseling, listen very closely. What was shocking to me and mind-blowing to me is when I studied counseling and they gave you the characteristics of a counselor. So the characteristics of the counselor was, number one, you have to be forthcoming. You have to have open hands, open-handed, welcoming, warm face, a smile. You are supposed to be empathetic. You are supposed to listen more than what you speak. Whose characteristics am I describing to you right now? The Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? On point? And every Sahabi used to seek his counsel.
Correct.
You understand? So when it comes to these things, we have forgotten about these things. in society today. This is not a norm in society.
Mm.
And here we have a problem with, am I my brother's keeper? This is something that we've lost. There's a saying of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a hadith, that is very important, and many Muslims overlook this. We say it with finesse, but we're not living it. You can never ever be a true believer or a Muslim if you do not wish for your brother what you wish for yourself.
Correct.
Right? So now we find ourselves in a narcissistic society that we're living in because we're adapting a westernized ideology. And this is a fact. And when we say this, we mean this is the system of life that we are adopting, because when we're living, we have a system of life. When we are not living the system of life, the way of life, meaning Islam, then we are going to be off balance, which society is off balance right now. Because when we, again, if we wish for our brothers what we wish for ourselves, will our societies be the way it is today?
No.
All right? Because what we're finding is a trend of being selfish. We have a selfish nation being raised. And it was never this case. It was never the way. Before, when we, way back in the years, when we say old school, it's never old school. It's supposed to be the way of life. All right? We used to actually use all the things that we love to show our loved ones how much we love them. But today you find people using their loved ones to gain the things that they love. This is the opposite way around now. And this is where you find the trust is starting to leave society. We don't trust one another. Because for a man to share, or any human being to share anything, something personal, there must be that trust. You know, tomorrow you don't want it to be used against you, number one. Number two, you don't want that to be laying everywhere in society. And this is what you find. So when it comes to men trusting, there must be a lot of factors there in order for a man to trust, to express his emotions. Because we also feel, all men feel, we feel pain, we feel anger, we feel shame, we feel guilt, we feel all of that emotion, just like a female does. But it is not recognized, number one, and it doesn't matter. See? This is why you'll find in a relationship, a man will stonewall. Right? I have this in my courses. This is why I have the courses. We are dealing with the social ills, and this is how you overcome these things. Stonewalling, you will find a man doing. When a man is speaking to a female or his wife, and he sees that what he's saying or his opinion doesn't matter, he's speaking to a rock, and there's no understanding, automatically he will stonewall. And you will get nothing from him. Because there's a barrier of communication now. So he doesn't want to waste his time, because he sees that this conversation is futile. Hence why you find men silent in relationships. Because no matter how he tries to sort it out by speaking about it, what he says does not really matter. And this is why...
Musaddiq, if I can just come in here, we're talking about the men or man and their feelings. What about the man that still has the child within himself? Because as a child, he was bullied, he was taken advantage of, and he still has that child within him that hasn't resolved what he went through at a tender young age.
Okay. What happens in a case like that? Again, the guidance is important. Right? So when a man is a man, understand one thing. Sometimes we get caught up in the traumatic child syndrome. Right?
Correct.
I have a different theory about that. Right? My theory is very simple. My theory is, number one, remember we have musibahs for a reason. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests everybody, right?
Correct.
There's a reason for why he tests us. Because in this dunya, we do need resilience. Right? So when I hear certain cases where they had child traumatic events, what I would do is I would ask them a simple question. That child that's there overcame that thing at that time, and that is a strength. So the adult that's in front of me that has much more experience and much more wiser than that child, how much strength has this adult got at this moment? So majority of the time you will find in men, we always try to show up, right? Whether they show up broken, whether they show up a half a man, whether they show up a full man, men will always show up. Sometimes you can see the cracks. And there is no safe place for a man, because if the man's safe place is home and he cannot be himself and is not encouraged to be himself, then what would he be? What way would he be as well? Because remember, home is not a place, it's a feeling. And as women should feel safe at home, men also should feel safe at home and never dread coming home. As it is, my wife used to ask me, there's this guy at work, he's always working overtime and there's no work. He's alone for hours there, what's going on? I said, no, there's misery at home. He says, what do you mean? I said, Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, Shaykhul Islam, he gave us great advice. He was a very wise man. He said that verily, a woman with a long tongue will find her days short with her husband. Right? That's also a form of abuse. Right? As it is for the woman, those types of abuse, so is it for the man as well. And these things are overlooked. And these things are not recognized in society. Because he's a man, he's supposed to take it. It's a man, he should man up and he's supposed to be able to handle it. And as I said, I always tell the female species about their husbands, I tell them, sisters, your man is also a human being. Society has usually got these high expectations of men. And now, recently, it's even more extreme. Because if I ask the wife, what is your husband supposed to be for you? You're going to tell me, he's supposed to be my counselor, he's supposed to be my doctor, he's supposed to be my advisor, he must be my guardian, you understand, the list goes on. Right? So after you have given me a description of 9 different men, how much power has my brother got left? When we flip the switch and we ask the sister, his wife, so how do you mend him? What are you to him? No, I'm his wife. One title. Right? Here is great wisdom and great advice that I can give my sisters out there that want to support me. Don't be his wife, be his best friend.
Correct.
You understand?
Correct. Musadik, listening to what you are saying, if you are married but you're not being abused by your wife, but perhaps in work, at a workspace, and if you have a wife that is understanding that you have this open relationship where you can talk and discuss whatever you want to, why is it that the man will find it difficult to talk about what's happening at work and how they are abusing him verbally, or in a meeting, how he always gets pointed out? How do you tell that to your wife when you are supposed to be their guardian, their protector?
Okay. Now that's a perfect statement you made there, sister. First and foremost, that what you said, his wife is not that to him. Hence why he's not speaking about anything. Because if he had that friend, he'll probably tell his friend of what's going on at work. Not his wife. Because when the male species see that the female species that is with, she is not strong enough to handle what's there already, he will not burden her with anything more. you will carry that burden as well. Because at the end of the day, no matter what they say about men, I'm speaking about good men.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not speaking about the exception to the rule. You know? Good men, their whole existence, especially in the relationship, in the marriage, good men wants to see their families happy.
Correct.
That's the goal. And they will not say anything upsetting, especially when they know that their partners are not strong enough to handle what they have to carry. Because we seek counsel as well, and if we find that we seek counsel, and the counsel that we seek is going to be fruitful and not going to be held against me, then we're going to go forth with it. As you hear that behind every man, every successful man is a woman, 100% correct. But that's a different type of woman we're speaking about. That is not your ordinary woman. She's very rare. You don't get her around every single corner. She's a very different built type of woman. She knows what she wants out of life. She doesn't play games. She's there to protect the family unit, and she's there to make sure that there's no enemies that coming in, and nor is there enemies within. Right? So when a woman is on such a stature and she's operating like that, what do you think the household will become? You understand? Because now there's a support, and this is why I got in my Parenting Legends book. Our whole section is to do with the couple before we go to the kids. Because in order for the kids to be growing up safely, securely, and lovingly, the couple itself, the father and the mother, the people that has begun the relationship, must be on the same point, must go and row in the same way. Because they are the ones that usually start the family, and they're the ones that's left behind when the family disperses and goes on their merry little way. You understand? And this is why it's important to have that bond. This is why it's important to have a good relationship with male and female, the mother and the father. That's the most important relationship, because they're the ones that started the family. And most people focus on the kids, and they forget about one another. This is why we're in the state that we are in relationships today.
Definitely. Musadik, what happens in an instance of, let's just say, your male colleague at work? You've been working with him for so many years. You knew him before he got married, and now you know him after he got married. What signs is it that I have to look out for to make sure that he is not bottling up his emotions, or he's not on the brink of emotional burnout or breakdown? How would I be able to do that if he doesn't speak openly to me about what is happening at home or what he's going through, whereas in the past he spoke to me about everything?
Okay. First and foremost, again, this is why Islam again teaches you the basics of humanity. Begin with a smile. Right? A smile can lighten someone's day. A smile gives people that encouragement to feel comfort, to feel safe around you. And if the person was usually open and jovial, then 100% is hiding things, because now he's carrying a burden. And it's very simple. Ask them how do they feel and what's really going on when you see something is bothering someone. They might not speak about it, but at least, alhamdulillah, they know that someone else out there really cares, which is important, right? And when we are with people, remember that everybody needs help.
Correct.
Everybody, right? Especially in society today. Everybody's in a state that they're not really aware of. Right? And there's many factors that brought this on. So inshallah, we'll get to those things as we go along. But for now, we are a society, and we are supposed to grow as a society. We are supposed to support one another, because nobody's alone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't create us no one an island for a reason. And I always remind people, and this is something that we always forget. People will say that I don't like to deal with people are like this, people are like that. Islam teaches you something different. Islam teaches you that you get a double reward when you bear with the people's pains, when you bear with the brunt of society, people the way they are, the way they want to be, they don't want to change. Because at the end of the day, Islam is wise. You cannot bury yourself tomorrow. So this is why it's good to have an open relationship with your colleagues, with your society. This is why it's important to be good to your neighbors and all of those things. Because again, as you are today, we are very selfish, becoming a very selfish nation and society. Because we are egotistically driven, we are materialistically driven, and we always in competition, but in the wrong way. This is all the nature of human beings. This is the nature of human beings. But there's a positive way of being as well, and that's why we have the Islamic way of life.
Correct.
The Islamic way of life is, why are we not in competition in doing the good? Why are we not keeping in competition to check up really how our neighbors are doing and not what our neighbors have? You understand?
Correct.
So, inshallah, when we start changing that narrative and we're going back to the basics, then maybe the society and order will be brought and things will be much more easy on people, because with that, the social pressure on men will be lifted as well.
Definitely. Musaddiq, so we know that often shame is attached to vulnerability. So how can we now actually shift the narrative so that expressing feelings becomes a sign of strength and not weakness? Because if we look at it, you do get some men that can express themselves very well, whether it is what they are going through or the actual feelings. It's very seldom when you do find them, but you do get some men that is not afraid to speak up and to say what is going on.
Yes. There are men that's brave enough to do that, and obviously we have brothers amongst us that hasn't got that capacity. As I said, there are circles, there are people, there are loved ones around them that can encourage them and seek the help for them if they are too ashamed to ask for the help. And support is most important. Usually, as I said, we are becoming a selfish nation. And because we're becoming a selfish nation, 98% of people believe that they are alone. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. You understand?
Correct.
And today we're mixing up the two. This is why we need clear directives, tools to be able to manage, and there's tools as well. Even if the brother is ashamed to speak up, he doesn't want anybody to know what's going on with him, but he really wants to help, he really wants to change. There are tools. There's tools. That's why I wrote the self-mastery book. Because there's tools where you govern yourself step by step, going through it, gaining clarity, having understanding. There's practices to strengthen you. So there's resources, there are tools. And today, remember, today we're living in a society we have, which we are called the society of information. And information is very important. There's a lot of information out there. Some misleading and some are on point. So when you want to find out, as the Quran has given us advice, go to them who knows. Seek counsel. When you're seeking counsel, it is safe. Nobody's going to speak about what you came to speak about there. The counsel will never do that. It's a safe space for you to do. It's a safe space for you to express yourself, but seek a counsel that will also help you. Do you understand? Correct. To put you in the right direction as well. Inshallah.
Inshallah. So what do we actually do, or for the men that are listening in tonight, what do you say to someone who feels that they are completely overwhelmed, but also doesn't know how or where to begin opening up? If they should talk to a friend, should they talk to their parents or his siblings, because he can't seem to talk to his wife about it?
Okay. Number one, first go to your closest friend, the one that you trust. Speak to them. You might be overwhelmed and you cannot think straight. The person that's not so overwhelmed as you are will be able to give you advice or seek advice for you. You understand? And you're not alone. And there is help out there. Just because you don't know there's help out there doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Correct. Definitely correct. What happens in a situation where, say you know of a man who's married and everything, but his wife is beyond evil, for lack of a better word saying, but that man now takes all his frustrations out on his friends because he is too afraid of his wife. Well, how do you help that person?
First and foremost, seek counsel again. Right? That's not a way of being. Yes, there are women that goes off on a tangent. There are women that's, as we say, evil, pure evil.
Yeah.
Seek counsel, seek advice from men that know. That's the first step. The second step is find out what do you want to do about your situation and work on that. Inshallah. Right? And as I said, go seek advice from people with knowledge. Don't go seek advice from people that will escalate the situation and now you're really sitting in something that you really didn't want to be in. So inshallah, go seek advice by men that know. Older men will always give you advice, especially if they're wise and they have knowledge about the deen, the proper knowledge about the deen, solid knowledge about the deen of Islam, and what is the most appropriate way to approach this thing and how to handle this thing. And then you go forward with that, and that's the first steps. But remember, when you want to seek a solution, and you seek it, that's what you will find. You will find the solution. But if you're sitting and vegetating about something and wishing upon a star or sending a message out into the universe, nothing's going to come your way. You understand? So when you're on your road to seek advice and you're on your road to make things better for yourself, as I always tell people, please do not complain about something you're not willing to change.
Correct.
You understand? All right? Because that's how you're going to find your solutions. So take the course that you have to take, and then inshallah you will find the guidance that you need.
Amen to that indeed. So let us talk solutions. So what are some simple and everyday ways we can actually create emotional safe spaces for men at home, in the workplace, and even in their friendship circle? Because if we look at it, sometimes our friendship circle can be very poisonous. How can we actually fix that? How can we make it a simple solution to something that we think is a big thing?
If the friendship circle is poisonous, that's not your friends. Right? Again, if you don't know how to make friends, go back to the Quran and Sunnah and you'll find out how to make friends and what is a friend. Because we have to clarify these things. Because we got frenemies, and when you're operating with frenemies, then obviously you're not going to make it, because that's toxicity in your life, and as a Muslim you're not supposed to be operating on that. Because a friend is somebody that calls you to the good, keeps you safe from harm, and supports you as with all means, right? And if you don't know who's your friends, again, in a crowd, mention the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Allah and see who stands there. You understand?
Correct.
Because now you're getting a yardstick. When it's concerning loved ones, I'm sure in one circle, if you haven't got loved ones, again, go to a counselor and I'm sure they'll give you advice on what to do, right? And the safe space, as I said, counseling is a safe space. Having a good friend is a safe space, because a good friend will never expose you. That's why, as I said, if you've got a toxic circle, get rid of that circle. If you cannot change your friends, then change your friends. Very simple, right?
True.
Again,
True.
because in Islam, a friend is a very big subject matter. You will hear a friend can take you to the Jahannam, or a friend is the one that can take you out of the Jahannam. So when it comes to friends, you have to really pick and choose. The last thing that you want is frenemies just because you need company. A good man seeks good friendship. You understand?
Definitely.
So that's also part and parcel of most of the problems, because when you got that toxicity and you're going to expose yourself, they're going to use it against you. As you spoke about the evil woman that uses your inner secrets, and when you want to share things, that's evil. That's very evil.
Definitely.
And we have to call it for what it is.
So, Sadiq, you mentioned earlier on that, if we have any difficulties or problems, we must go to a counselor. But that in itself carries a stigma. If people know that you're going for counseling, you already get to be known as someone who's psycho or someone who's not stable. How can we actually go past that stigma period of people thinking that going for counseling means that you are not in the best or insane mind?
Okay. As I said in the beginning, it's a very easy thing to do. Let's get out of the culture of westernized ideology and let's get into the culture of Islam. We are supposed to seek counsel in what we do. You understand?
Yeah.
And as I said, when we seek counsel, make sure that the people that you're seeking counsel are knowledgeable and wise in the deen of Islam. Not your perspective of knowledgeable and wise because the Buddha is looking very salihin. No. You can see on a human being and you can hear on the way he speaks. Some of them can fool you with eloquent speech, but you can see sincerity as well. You understand? So seek it from them that has real knowledge in the deen of Islam, and seek it from them that are wise, because that are the men that we are supposed to seek counsel from in any ways. So when we're seeking counsel in that way, as I said, it's the same thing. We need to change our ideology. We need to change our outlook on life, right? As I said, there's books as well. There's resources. Read up and seek. And when you're on your journey to seek, that's what you're going to find.
Yeah.
But again, as a Muslim, we keep into accordance the Quran and the Sunnah, because that's our guidelines not to overstep the barrier and do funny little things like going off into the bushes and smoking some sort of drugs, because that's also therapy nowadays, by the way. And that is not an Islamic thing. You understand? They're eating mushrooms, they're having LSD, and it is a real therapy type of thing today. Do not go into these things because these are evil.
Yeah, definitely.
You understand?
So how important is language in this conversation? Because it's quite easy to misconstrue if someone is telling you something and they actually mean it in a bad way, but they most probably didn't carry it over the way that it was meant to.
As Muslims, we give everybody the benefit of the doubt until they prove themselves otherwise. In today's society, we have another social ill, and we have the back-to-front belief system. The back-to-front belief system in today's society, everybody says that you have to earn my respect. Since when? Islam teaches you to respect every single individual. Trust is earned, not respect. And that's the problem with society today. You want to earn respect. So if I come to you and I do not show you respect because you're supposed to earn my respect, and you have the same attitude like me, then how is any relationship going to end up? Is there going to be any relationship? Right? This is why I say be careful what ideology you follow. Because Islam is a guide to mankind almost 1500 years ago, and it will always be a guide to mankind until the end of time. Because that's the most wise thing that has ever come to man, far beyond man's comprehension. And this has always been the guide, and this will always be the guide. So once we have adhered to it and we keep to it, then half of the problems of society will be solved.
Definitely. Musadik, when we speak to boys and to men, is there a change or a different way that we speak to them? Because boys are younger and men are older, so they should understand whatever it is that I'm saying. And if we think of a youth or a small child, they won't be able to really grasp or understand what it is that you're saying.
That's a very interesting thing that you're saying, though. I'm going to be frank.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to give you the advice, not my advice, but the best advices that has been given to man.
Mm-hmm.
The Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave us advice. Speak to them on the level that they're on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And look how wise this is. Right? So now you may be speaking to a 15-year-old boy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? MashaAllah, he's not yet a man. He's still a youth. He's coming into his own.
Mm.
And subhanAllah, this boy is wise beyond his years.
Mm.
Right? And subhanAllah, now you're speaking to a 50-year-old man that's teaching other kids why and all the perks of being a gangster and why they should be a gangster, because he didn't learn anything in gangsterism. So he's bringing over that evil to the youth again. So as I said, speak to the people on the level that they're on. Because maturity is not always with age. So when we're speaking to the person, we are going to get information and we're going to understand how they think. We are going to understand what flies over their heads, and then we'll have a type of conversation with them, because that's the level that we are supposed to be speaking on. So we mustn't assume that because it's an elderly man, he's going to grasp what we are saying. We shouldn't assume because there's a youngster, you cannot grasp what I'm saying. We should speak to them on the level that they're on, depending on what they can grasp and what they can't grasp.
Definitely. Musadik, I know that earlier on you said that if you do have a problem, seek counseling or therapy. Do you think that we will be able to destigmatize in communities when we talk about going for therapy or counseling, because currently it is still taboo to talk about it?
Yes, it's a stigma. And especially, as I said, I don't understand why it is a stigma in Islam, because counsel was sought consistently.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it was Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, whether it was Umar al-Khattab, radhiyallahu an, all of them, they used to seek counsel. Islam speaks about, even when you have an idea, even when you want to do something, keep a mashura. You see how beautiful this way of life is, because now you're going to get perspective. Now you're going to get advice. And we were always, as Muslims, supposed to seek these advices. Right? So when it comes to mental health, should it be any different?
Definitely.
Right? Again, why is there a stigma? So if we want to stigmatize things, right, then we're going to say we have a society that's hooked on drugs. And we're not talking about the ones that's on street drugs. We're speaking about over the counter, because everybody thinks there's a miracle pill to fix things. There is no miracle pill to fix things. Medication has a place. It is not the place to go to.
I always amaze myself, Musadik. I mean, this is just on the sideline. When people say that Tramadol, which is a tablet used for pain, actually puts them on a high.
Yes.
And I actually look at people and say, it doesn't put me on a high, it doesn't put me anywhere, it doesn't even help me with my pain. And yet there are people that will buy those drugs from you because they sniff it, or I don't know what else they do to it. And that is actually quite sad, that tablets that are meant for medicinal purposes because your health isn't good is actually being used as a drug that they use for enjoyment.
Yes, because people want to escape the realities and not deal with it. Right? People always say, no, I'm not ready to deal. I'm not ready to deal. Right? But what you're not understanding, because you're not dealing and you're not ready to deal, whatever's there is festering. Right? So when this system of yours breaks down, now you got real problems, because prevention is always better than a cure. So when you're numbing your pain instead of dealing with your pain,
and sorting it out. You're prolonging your suffering. That's what you're doing. Where you could have gone on with your life much more healthier and a much more healthier way of being, and actually have a fruitful life. Now you're numbing yourself, you're becoming stuck, and you're really solidifying yourself so that you can become stuck and not move anywhere. And then at the end of the day, we want to blame our creator, we want to people, but nobody wants to take accountability for what they did. As I said, and I'm going to say it again, do not complain about something that you are not willing to change.
Definitely. That is so true. So from your own work experience or work, can you perhaps just share a moment where creating space for emotion made a positive difference in someone's life? And I'm sure that you had many, many of these cases that cross your desk.
Yes. First and foremost, I wrote the book called Love and Jealousy. This is two powerful emotions that affects every single human being walking the face of the planet. But the effects are different to everyone. There is a positive and there's negatives. And people do not understand these emotions either. And people do not understand how powerful it can become, and people do not know how to use them either. Is it the safe space or the loving space, my sister?
So that's one thing that you need to find out for yourself, what space it is.
Is it the safe space or the loving space? There's nothing about safe, it's about loving. You understand? Because if I don't feel that I am loved here, I don't feel that I'm cared for here, I don't feel that the people around me, I don't feel. Remember, this is a feeling.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's reality. Alright? This is a feeling because there's perception as well. Alright? If I don't feel this, how am I going to turn up? Is the space going to be safe for me to be? And because there's a lack of that compassion, or a belief that there is compassion, now you're going to become very lonely. This is why you'll find the man, as we spoke about men's emotions, the man is in a house filled with people, but is feeling lonely. Just the same way a woman can be in a house filled with people and feel lonely. Do you understand? And these are not books for entertainment. These are books to make sure that you grasp the proper concept of things so that you can have a healthier way of being. You understand?
Correct.
Because as I said, it seems that everything is turned back to front.
That is so true. I think you actually see it on a daily basis, either with people around you or in your own home or amongst your friend circle. It's like, but I thought it's supposed to work the other way around. So things do kind of look different from all perspective. Musadik, if we could imagine a healthier and emotionally expressive version of masculinity, what would that look like? I mean, I'm so dying to hear what that would look like.
That is a man that is healthy enough to stand. I'll give you a simple example. What a man is. Sister asked me, what makes you a man? I say, I carried the world on my shoulders. She asked me, who said you are supposed to do that? I said, I cannot help it. It is in my DNA. That is my task. This is the burden I carry. But if I'm supported in that burden that I carry, if I'm strong enough mentally, physically, emotionally to carry that burden, if I am not broken down, especially in the safe space I call home, carrying that burden, I can bear that brunt. Because I can go into the battlefield again, get scorched, get scarred, come home and heal up, because I have a space to heal up. This is what men do. Once we have the bandages, we can go back to the battlefield. Hence again, even in real war, who was there to put on the bandages? There was women to put on the bandages. That tender, loving care. It's a small thing to them, but it's a huge thing to men. Because that's an encouragement to go back to the battlefield. We do not need your pity. We need your support. There's a huge difference. We do not need to be broken down. We need to be recognized. We don't even need appreciation. We don't need evil when we are serving good. And that's when a man can carry any burden that he needs to. Because at the end of the day, the man, as I'm saying, this is good men. Men carry the burdens because it's built into them. That the happiness of their loved ones are their happiness.
Correct.
He will sacrifice himself for his kids and his home. This is why he's the protector of the home. At any cost.
But
if it's not a home and it's a house, then what is he protecting?
True. But that can also be turned around where women are concerned. Whatever she does is for the interests of her family, her children. But then you find the husband is actually the perpetrator of domestic abuse in the home. So she's kind of got to be the strong person.
Yes, 100%. And can you see what that does to the household? At the end,
causes a lot of fear.
Yes. Constant fear. Again, no safety. And what is lacking? The love. The healthy love. Because there's two totally different loves. There's toxic love and there's healthy love. And most people don't know the difference between the two. And when they find what is healthy love, most people get shocked. Because we have a perception of what we heard or saw in movies or saw on the television or came across in a song, but that is not reality.
That's for sure. Musadik, just in the rounding off the program, I hope that if you are going to be with me next week, I hope that the producer actually looks at narcissism, as a topic to do, because that also plays a very important role in our lives. But just in concluding off with today's program, what would your advice be to the perpetrator that causes the fear in the house or amongst friends, or even perhaps the perpetrator being your boss at work? What is your advice to them of how to deal with it?
To the perpetrator or to the victim, sister?
To both, the perpetrator and the victim, because you want to get the perpetrator to understand that what they are doing is not right.
It comes down to common humanity. Whatever you're doing, again, that is wisdom. Love for your brother what you love for yourself. Very simple. And that goes both ways. Love for your brother what you love for yourself. You understand? Because when I lectured in Paulsmoor prison, people used to ask me, have you met up with criminals now, real hardcore criminals, ones that was, off? I said, yes, I was in maximum prison. That means the maximum crime that you could do, and people shoved in one place. Right? The worst of the criminals. They asked me, so what did you find there? I said, I found a whole bunch of human beings. Why? Because I treated them like human beings. Because I love for my brother what I love for myself. We should start adapting this. And not just thinking about it.
Sometimes it's easier said than done, don't you think, Musadik? Because each one of us have different lifestyles, different thoughts, different way of living.
Yes. But we also have a common denominator. Nobody wants to be beaten up. Nobody wants to be shouted at. Nobody wants to be sworn at. Nobody wants to be starved. We have a common denominator. So that comes, again, Islam is always with the natural way. You understand? Again, we're not speaking about the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
We are not speaking about Japi that wishes that everybody could be as drunk as him. No, we're not speaking about that. That's an exception to the rule. Right? We are speaking about the common denominator. Everybody wants to be seen, heard, and understood. Everybody wants to be loved, revered, and respected. And that goes across board. And once we start treating one another like this, wallahi, we are going to be having a much, much better world. Believe me.
Absolutely wonderful. Musaddiq, we have to conclude with our program for this evening. Jazakallah khair so much for joining us. A lot of good advice that came out of it, and a lot of food for thought, not just for the men, but for us as women as well. Because sometimes we do forget that men do have emotions. So Jazakallah khair for that. Until we chat again, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.